Well, welcome in everybody and happy Friday. Welcome into the Just Jump In live stream. I hope everybody is doing well. As usual, give me a thumbs up or let me know you're in here and let me know you can hear me. As you all know, audio seems to be my biggest challenge. So always love to get the nod that it's going well. I hope everybody is doing well. And Gopher Girl was the first one to comment. There are about 7 or 8 people who jumped in. And so I don't know who was technically first, but Gopher Girl is exempt from the virtual cookie. So I'm going to have to give it to my mom. Welcome in. I'm glad that you got it working on your TV and so that you can see the larger screen and have the neighborhood hear your sound. Mike, welcome. Nice to have you in here. Thanks, Mike, for the thumbs up on the sound in Ohio, and Bill as well. Welcome in. All right. So today's kind of an update show for sure. As you all know, I've got multiple projects going on, and I have one starting up soon. Curly Express, Dwight, welcome in. Nice to have you in here. So you're. I was gonna say you're related to me, but I suppose you're not. You're contractually obligated to me, not related to me. Maybe the right term. So I actually was going to focus on the getting the diner built. I thought I could do that in 2 days, and as you'll see, that sure didn't happen. So, and some of the riffraff out there might get away with some things. Is Gopher Girl may or may not be paying attention. The draft is on. She tells me I'm a widow during draft time, but I do see her in here fighting for a cookie. Anyway, so the only thing I did was I got the moving on the cushion center frame, and I may not be able to see it well on here. It's not exactly straight. Once again, my measuring and everything and cutting was not exact, so not super straight. And a piece did come off here that I'll have to re-glue on. And then I got the coupler pockets on. Now, the coupler pocket covers don't seem to fit in there, and I wonder if it is, and it's going to be hard to see this. But what the directions were to modify a coupler pocket and put these extensions in. And so I did that, but I'm wondering if the coupler pocket itself is too high. Sorry for the hands flying in, but that's the cover, and that's going to go on here a long ways, but it doesn't want to sit down, and so I'm thinking it might be the sides of the coupler pocket need to be shaved down, but we'll figure that out at some point. And I still have this version. It would probably help if you can kind of see if I line this up a little bit with the straight lines here, you can kind of see that it kind of, for whatever reason, it looks like it's diagonal. And I don't know if that's a camera trick or if it really is diagonal the way I glued the bolsters and everything, but as usual, not very straight. I haven't done anything with the 3D printed version. This won't be the final one. But I was focusing on this one, so I haven't gone back to do that. But essentially, the same thing's going to happen, where I'm going to be putting in the cushion under frame and the coupler pockets. These are not solid fills here. And you can see that they're kind of, well, you can see on here, they're going to be too far. I think they're going to be too far to the ends. Because if you put, I'm not sure how this is going to sit, but this is probably going to interfere with the coupler pocket, whereas on here it's behind the coupler pocket, although it does have some play towards it. You can on this one as well. So we'll have to work that out and see how that goes. But I've been kind of stalled with that. I thought I was going to get the next project done in a weekend, and I was really going to fly through it. But that's not the case. So what I was going to try and fly through was the City Classics Diner, And I'll show you kind of what the how far I got. So I got it painted with this. So you could have used any silver. The chrome, it was bright, but if I used a dull coat over the chrome, it would have knocked it down. I didn't have to go buy this, but I wanted to try it. It's a metallic paint, so I wanted to try it. It's model air. Some people say you still have to order these down or reduce these a little bit with thinner. But Vallejo designs the model air line to be airbrush ready and is sprayed with no problem. So that made quick work of these. Now I probably went over them about 3 times each. You can see here's the plastic, and then this steel metallic color. The other thing I used on some parts was this AK aluminum that I have, and I thought it would be brighter. When I was patching some of this, it actually was a darker color, and I don't know if I have any areas that I don't have any areas of anything I painted because I painted over them. But this was a little bit darker. Now, if I was weathering, I could use this to cover like an area that got scratched or something, and it can just be weathered using this. So I struggled with color. There's all kinds of colors out there, so that it's not just a strict silver diner. Gopher Girl and I discussed colors, and we came to the pink, and it was like a hot pink, and we found a color that she liked, and so we decided on which stripes we were going to paint as well. And I did a couple things. I tried with the airbrush, and I did a lot of taping, and I'll show you kind of the taping tonight. I'm going to tape some of these pieces tonight. But I struggled with what it looks like, and really was struggling with the paint. I had never used this before, or a metallic paint. This one's from Deco Art, so this was from Michaels, and it's called Extreme Sheen. It's a really, really thick paint, a super thick paint, and so I had trouble figuring out the right formula or the right amount of water or thinner to put in. And so I did it a couple times, and I had it too thin. It was so light that it was spraying out like water, and it wasn't really sticking to the painted surface. So I took to a watered down version and tried painting it on with a brush, and that was just moving the paint around. I think that with most of the time with the metallics, what makes them metallic is there's flecks of metallic material in the paint, and so that just looks like it moves around a lot. So I ended up in what worked to my satisfaction, or some satisfaction, was using it at full strength and brushing it on. So I taped these up just to get the stripes, and you can see I have stripes here, and I don't think that's so just giving an update. I'm building a City Classics diner, Mike, and just getting started. And this is a small project, and I thought I was going to have it done in 2 days. I only done a little bit of construction. I'll show you that on one part. The rest of it has just been getting the painting set up and done. So this video doesn't really do this justice about how this looks. It does look a little janky from, if you're up close and looking at these lines. But when you have the right kind of light and it's shining, it really looks kind of neon-y, like a little bit. It has that sheen. Um, so I'm kind of happy with it. The other thing that I did um, was, here you can see it. So I'll go back to this, talking about, even though this is aluminum color and looks real shiny on other things, this right here, this dark spot by my fingernail, that's me covering up a spot where all the paint kind of chipped away. And I also was using it around the edge here because I was using the paint on, as you can see on the edge, like here it needs to be touched up a little bit. Yep, weathering will take care of that. That's what I was saying earlier, is I could even use this as just to have it darker, use it as a weathering technique. But anyway, so it's hard to tell on here, but I was doing the edges with this extreme sheen. They call it pink tourmaline. And again, I got that at Michael's, and I'll have this forever since I'm using so little of it. We'll see how that lasts. So I thought I would show you how I was taping these off tonight and work on maybe getting this one started. This is the front. Well, okay. So let me go the wrong way. So this is going to be really the front. These doors are going to go on the side, and here's the roof. That's going to be the very front right there, that one. And then this one will be behind it. So I want to take my time and try and make sure I do a really good job on that. So, because that's what most people are going to see. The other piece here is the roof, and I struggle with what I was going to do here, and trying to look at examples. And to be honest, there are so many variations. Obviously, the diners wanted to look like one of a kind. They wanted to shine and pull people in. So nothing was really, there wasn't multiple references of the same kind. So I went ahead and I painted this, obviously, with the silver metallic paint. And then, I was just going to have it, be on there like this. But now I'm kind of thinking, and that usually gets me into trouble, but I'm kind of thinking that I want to paint the edge of all the way around here with the pink, with this guy. The thing I'm worried about, I would like this to work with spray paint, so I might this weekend try and mix the paint again a couple times, since I'm going to have so much of it, and this is probably a one project paint. I might work on the mix and really try and spray paint airbrush this, because I really would like it to be more smooth than this, because I think it's going to be a little more prominent. This is going to, like, right out front, that's going to show up. And so this is really bothering me. It's on here. So it's got this edge here. So I might think of painting this with the pink. And so if anybody has an opinion about that, looking at the pink on here, throw it in the chat. Maybe you can convince me to do it. So that's where I'm at with this. piece, and we'll come back to this in a minute here. So this has a regular part of the building on the back end that is considered the kitchen. And so this is going to be one part of the back end, and you can do either left or right. This is just going to glue right into the wall setup. I think this one is essentially going to kind of go like this and this and work like that. But we'll review the directions a little bit more. But this actually had a brick pattern on here, and so this is what I had fun doing this, and I did a whole bunch of colors with this. I used, for this exhaust fan, I used the pen again for that. I forget what color I used this, but I think it was a silver color for this as well. But then I used some of the panel liner to dirty that up, and so you could see that fan. And then I used again the pen to paint this meter. And they give you a long sheet of this of the acetate because you're going to use it on every window. So I cut those out there and glued those on. And then this paint was this dark sea gray. If you're looking for it by number, it's 71.053. Dark sea gray. Again, it's a Model Air paint. That's generally, outside of craft paints, that's generally what I purchase. So what I'd like to learn from an artist, Mike, is how in the heck do you get rid of brush lines, and how do you make sure there are no brush lines to paint something like this, where you have all this flat area that's prominent, or, same thing on the roof. How do you brush that so that it comes out flat and even? Because I have yet to figure that out, and I'm not an artist, and not an artist by training, trade, or anything in between. I'm just trying to take advice from artists like yourself, but that would be helpful to understand how I can really get rid of brush lines, because I find that when I've tried to do it, oftentimes I'm just brushing over more and more layers, and then it gets thick and icky. So for this, I actually used a sponge to paint the brick, and sponged some different colors and dirtied it up, and wanted to have this just a different kind of brick and not just be a regular red brick. I painted the door, and then I used some panel liner around the door sill and the door handle. There is a separate piece that'll go down here for steps. That's done as well, but that's nothing. So I enjoyed doing this piece, though. I use one of my favorite whites is this. It's from Game Effects from Vallejo. It's a super, super thick paint. But I use this. It's a rotten white, so it's really just an off-white, and it's not that off-white, but I use that for the sills. I probably could weather those sills up a little bit, make them look a little dirtier and older. But I really like doing this, and I really like how this came out. It has a roof piece that was just a piece of styrene. This is just a piece of styrene that they provided. And it actually has to be, I thought it was the right size when I was fitting it, but it's not. It's a little bit, it's got to go between here because it's going to go on an angle. So all I did was I used painter's tape, like this stuff, layered it on, and then just painted it black. And this again will be able to be weathered as well. So it's not just this dark black. So it just has some age to it. And so that's that back piece there. So while I'm going through this, I'm going to ask you, what's everybody else working on? Mike, do you have your any part of your layout going yet? I know you were working on pulling stuff out at the cabin and everything. So I wonder how you're doing, or how whatever anybody else is working on on their layout. Let's see here. So that's this this piece here. I do have to go another trip to the hobby shop. I have like 3 thicknesses of this Tamiya tape, and this is the one I use the most. And you can see it's getting real thin, super thin. And I don't know if it looks like I might have enough for this, but you never know, because this has a lot of painting to do on it. This one's super thin and hard to use for this. This is probably more for striping than anything. And so I use a combination of this and painter's tape. Sometimes I use paper, like I did that here, where I put the Tamiya tape down. Then over top of that, I put the painter's tape and attached paper, so I didn't have to have so much tape touching the paint job on there, and that worked pretty well. So where's my chat here? Yeah, but Dwight, you're doing a bang up job on your row of buildings. They're looking really good, and your painting's coming out really good too. So I've been enjoying watching that for sure, and updates on that. Just thoughts and ideas at this point. I'm having a little bit of a time trying to get moving on the changes that I'm going to make to the layout pieces that I have. So I get it. And I have so many projects in front of me that I don't know. I just have a lot of projects in front of me, and wondering if Bob Johnson, if you're out there, seeing if you were able to make it into the stream tonight. So Bob Johnson has the PK&W, and he's also starting up hey Mike, have a great night. It was awesome having you in here. I will see you next week, hopefully, or on another stream this weekend. Have a good night. So he and I were talking on one of the streams previously, with him starting to work with 3D printing buildings, and he recreated an ice house, and he created a kit, and he's sending me the kit, and he already sent me the instructions to look at. And so I'm going to do a build of the kit, and hopefully I can do it justice for him and help him promote his business. and help him promote the ice house. Let's go ahead and let me show you the ice house real quick here. And so this is what he's going to build, have me build, I should say. And he's got, so I'll share some. He's got a couple websites you can go out, and he's got a YouTube channel, and you can go out and take a look. So here's his YouTube channel, and if you're on other live streams, he jumps on. I think he was on, if you want to learn a lot more about him, he was on Fultz Bailey Railroad live stream, and he also is part of the Sunday Sidetrack Sunday crew. So once a month, he's one of the live streamers, and so you can catch him there too. That's one. This is a website that you can go to for more information as well. So as soon as I get this, I'll get started on it, and I'll film what I'm doing, and we'll put something out to show the build. And like I said, hopefully I can do it some justice and help him get started. I'm an avid 3D printer for model railroading as well. The Dwight Curley Express, the building I was talking about that he's building, there is a 3D designer for 3D prints who's a model railroad fan. He mostly posts, I think, on Thingiverse. All his stuff is free. He takes requests at times. I see he was doing kind of versions of Merchants Row buildings from Walther's, and they're a fantastic job. And I featured the one that I did on, that I completed, and Dwight is working through his as well. A really cool cigar shop he's got going on there and everything on his. So check him out as well. And so I can't wait to get this and get started on this. The one thing that I have to look at the instructions to see if Bob has any glue suggestions. Most of the time, glue suggestions for 3D printing are usually going to be CA glue, but there are some special glues and things like that are formulated to, just like, stuff for styrene, like this Tamiya Extra Thin melt the styrene. There are glues out there that will melt some of the 3D printing plastics. There are quite a few different plastics and that are out there for 3D printing. And so it's just we just got to figure out which that is. I'll have my mask on for the duration of it because of how sensitive I've become to that stuff, or any glues, really, it seems like. So as you can see here, we've been painting two of the three, or I've been painting two of the three, I guess, stripes at the bottom. This one makes me a little nervous because I'm going to have to probably try and use this on in here. So let's try and do that. See if we can get this right. If you're not careful with the Tamiya tape, it's really good tape for painting and doesn't bleed a lot. But if you're not careful when you're laying it down, it can curl a little bit, and it's not necessarily, it's not strong enough to be straight on its own. And I might take things off the camera here. I actually take my glasses off, which means I have a problem with my sight to get these kind of close. There's also um, a lot of edges here that can lead to bleeding paint. However, I think it'll be easier to tape off anything I've painted if I have to do touch up. So let's see here how we can do this. Let me know if you're out there and anybody else working on any projects, hobby related, model railroading related, train related to anything you really want to relate it to. The other thing that I use are tweezers to get these edges down and try and get them down, and this is just, that's not as important up there right now, but I want to make sure that this is fitting in there. Oh, with dogs, there's just no way around it. There's hair everywhere. Hair everywhere. So we'll see how this does. There's some like hinges or raised area that this one might be a little bit of a problem child here. But well, let's go over to this side here. This one's a little easier on this edge because you have, some reason the screen flashed and didn't happen a couple times. But this tape is actually seems to be the right length for this. And so we can just make sure that's down. I think this could be a little tighter on there. But I think that will work. So I'm continuing to learn patience with this. Like anything else, I don't. When I use the airbrush, painting can go really fast, but I'm really trying to be patient. I'm finding that the work always turns out better with patience, and so it's not easy to be patient with it and to watch glue dry. Although that usually means more time to hang out with Gopher Girl when the glue is drying on or paint is drying on stuff. So I hope this is not too blurry. I have my glasses off, so I can't really see how it is on the screen, but hopefully not too crazy. So what I might do, let's see how, when I drop it in everybody's ear. See, this is really thick on here. That's not going to be helpful. Let's see here. That'll probably work just fine. Well, you definitely show you have patience on, at least on your live streams, and videos. I think, I think you have a really good attitude though, Dwight, because, if you mess something up, you just laugh at yourself about it and say, it happens. I wish I could have that attitude about anything, because I sure don't. But you don't screw up that much, at least on your live stream, so not a big deal. For those of you out there, if you haven't checked out Dwight's channel, not only he does live streams every weekend as well, and he also does, is it on Tuesdays or Wednesdays you show what's on the workbench. And so if you want to find his channel, just type into your YouTube search at Curly Express as you see it on the screen there, and you'll find him. But and I think with anything that we're doing, especially hobbies, I think you have to take everything with a grain of salt. So you have to say, look, I need to learn how to do this. I know I'm not the best at it. And then once I learn how to do it, something I'm willing to teach other people. Like, for instance, I don't consider myself a expert at kits. And so I'm always making sure I follow the directions. So I haven't done a lot of variation. I think the only time I went off the rails with anything or, tried anything different was with the abandoned depot, since that wasn't it wasn't designed to be an abandoned depot. Otherwise, I follow kits as they are, because I'm sure not an expert on that. And I don't know if I'm an expert on anything in the model railroading world, but I will tell you, I've done clinics and videos on a couple things, and especially Sculptamold, because Sculptamold's been one of my favorite building materials or landscape materials. And hey, Possum Bayou, welcome in. Nice to have you in here, Rusty. So to catch you up, I've got a bunch of projects that, are all unfinished. And one of them was, I thought I was going to finish this diner. It's a City Classics diner. That I got at a train show real cheap. And I thought I was going to finish it in 2 days. Thought I was going to have it painted and glued together. And a week later, I'm not even finished painting. So I didn't get a notification for Rick Bailey's live stream. I assume he didn't have it. I think he does it every other week. But he goes on an hour before I do. So make sure you check him out as well. But I know he does it every other week. So this might have been an off week, and that's probably why I didn't get a notification. Now, normally I wouldn't fret too much over this with hand painting, but my hands are so shaky that I don't really want a gap in here, and there are slight gaps in these. But I'm vowing to be very careful, and I'm going to be using a very, where'd it go? I'm going to be using a thinner brush to, I thought I had a smaller one even, to do these lines and do several passes on those lines. I probably, because even with painting it on undiluted, it still takes a minute for it to kind of show and layer up, and you have to do multiple layers. After multiple layers, it's pretty stark. You can definitely see that. So this one, let me see. Yeah, I think we could use this thicker one for this end here. Ah, gotcha. That's kind of why I thought not why I thought, but that makes sense why he would do them, kind of every other week or when he can. He's a high energy guy. I'll tell you that. He's got a lot of energy. This one's going to be a little bit slicker and harder to put on this end here. Anybody have any train shows this weekend in their area? I got to look at the Twin Cities Division website and double check on if there's anything going on. I think our next meeting is in May. We've had a few events. I had fun at doing the layout tours that we did. So we pick 5 or 6 layout tours, and we have 2 sessions on a Saturday, a designated Saturday, and so that you can travel to them. And so those have been very successfully done, and very nice to see the layouts in the Twin Cities. And there are tons and tons of layouts. So in the Twin Cities, there's one place I may go that's about, I'd say, an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. So I guess we would travel. Although the train shows in the Twin Cities are they have the same vendors. But a lot of those vendors take in estates and buy, lots of loose cars and stuff. And then they have some retail vendors and things like that. So I don't love to travel that much anymore for the shows because they're going to be generally the same. There's even one show that's a little bit of a distance because I live on the southwest side of Minneapolis and it's on the east side of St. Paul. So it's a little bit of a drive, not horrible. But it's a small show because it's like a club show. And the last 2 times I went didn't have a lot of vendors and stuff. Well, that's cool. That's cool to have, I have folks, I don't go with them usually, but I certainly meet up with them. We have a very strong contingent of people from our NMRA division that travel well for these shows. And so we'll meet up, and there's one show that is next door to the club that sponsors them. The club's in the basement, and there's a Chinese restaurant on top, and we always end up going to lunch when we go to that show as a group and get a huge table, and have a good time. The other thing we do in the Twin Cities that's coming up in the summer is we don't meet with regular meetings. We do picnics. There's one that's been at a local Old Depot. Then there's one that's in a park in St. Paul. And we actually had a member who's on here often, Ken. He actually opened his home or his backyard because he has a train that runs regularly through. He's got some freight trains that run through his backyard, and had the picnic in his backyard. And it actually got so hot, I think they moved the picnic inside. I didn't end up going to that one. But we do that in the summertime, and we have, in the Twin Cities, because it's so cold during most of the year, it's very warm in the summertime, and everyone likes to be outdoors. Everybody's bicycling everywhere, and so there's not as much attendance to things model railroad related. People who have other interests that are outside do that during the summer, and they're not model railroading as much in the Twin Cities. Me, I'm a all year long kind of guy. So again, the area that's going to be painted is going to be this stripe here, and then this stripe here. And so even this tape would be kind of big. If I was going to paint in here, I'd have to take the tape out, but I don't have to do that now. I can tape over this area so that I can get this taped off here. So this is what the patience part of this that I'm learning is taking all these steps just to get these little stripes in here, just to make it look good, is to take your time. And it doesn't look like there's very much left there at all, so I'm wondering when it will run out. So the way I do this, I'm not super accurate the first time. I just want it to grip, and then I come in and do it super close so I can see it close up. And this actually went down pretty good. Actually, really good. So, and we just want it to contour on here, and that actually curled upward on me. So sorry, this may not be exciting to everybody, but again, it's one of those things where we got to take our time, get it done right, so we don't have to do it again. So I just want to feel like I'm just a little bit off. Okay. So it's definitely gonna bleed. So I'm gonna have to take this one off and do that again. So let's go see. Let's take a second here and let's find out. TCD NMRA. So our website is tcdnmra.org. If you want to go see what's going on. Okay, so May 20th, we have a member meeting. Then May 21st to 24th in Thunder Bay, Ontario is the Thousand Lakes Region Convention. And then I think that we'll move into there's also there is something going on this weekend on Saturday. It looks like the Silvis Train Days. Let's take a look at what that is. Let's switch this up. Here it is on the website. So it looks like it's this weekend, Saturday the 25th in Illinois, Silvis, Illinois. And sorry, this scroll mouse is crazy. Trains, tours, vendors, and family fun, $5 cash parking, $20 shop entry, open shop tours. There's a classic car show, live shop demos, model train display, and some train rides. That's pretty cool. Coming up on May 9th is the Twin City Model Railroad Museum. I haven't been back to that museum in a long time. Apparently they added a Lego layout, and they have, I think, a couple layouts. But this one is at the Minnesota State Fairgrounds in the Education Building. It's kind of right, just to the right when you enter the big fairgrounds. That's pretty. That has quite a few vendors to that one. So I'm sure I'll go to that one. If I'm not doing something else, I'm sure I'll check that out. And again, it's going to have the same vendors I'm used to. I like the vendors who have a lot of open materials that I can use to build stuff. I spend most of my time there picking up their bags of $1 and $2 things. Styrene that's open package styrene that's $1 or $2 or whatever, and I always consider the entry fee like mail order or online purchasing, the shipping. And so that's how I rationalize going to the shows and paying the entry fee and then buying stuff, so that if I buy $2 worth of stuff, if I was going to do that online, I'd still have to ship that and at cost and everything. So I wouldn't say I live quite by Iowa, Dwight. I'm not sure. I don't remember how far it is to the border. I don't think it's that long. Maybe 2 hours. Go for girl. Not sure if you know. But Interstate 35 goes from Texas to Minnesota, so from basically border to border. It splits in the Twin Cities, and one half of 35 goes through Minneapolis, and the other half goes through St. Paul, and then they meet up again above the cities. So that's kind of neat. But if I was going to Iowa, I'd take that down to Iowa, and it wouldn't take that long. I try not to go to Iowa. I feel kind of trapped in Minnesota because you have the Dakotas on the left, you have Wisconsin on the right, and Iowa underneath. There's nowhere safe to be. Let's see if we can get this down again and do a better job this time. Let's see if we can line you up lower. That's better. My goodness, this hair is craziness. When I got married and everything, all those years ago, I thought I'm gonna have to deal with my wife's hair. I do have to deal with my wife's hair getting all over the place, but really it's the two dogs just just everywhere. It's just embedded in everything. And it's just from shedding. It's not even they're not even in this room. And they they still it's still everywhere. Everywhere, everywhere. Oh, that's much better. Let's get that down. This center one, it's thinner. It's supposed to be a door, like an emergency door. And it has a little bit of a different stripe in there. I'm going to have to do a little more taping just for that. So I don't know if you can tell in here. It's just slightly different there. So it's a little smaller to differentiate it. Again, you can see it's also thinner on there as well. I have been trying to get Gopher Girl to move to New Jersey to be closer to my family. Our grand plan, her family's in South Dakota, mine's in New Jersey. Our grand plan was to swap off holidays each year. So travel out to New Jersey one year, next year travel to South Dakota. And I think for probably 10, 15 years straight, we traveled to South Dakota and we didn't go to New Jersey. And I think the first Thanksgiving in 20 years, unfortunately, Gopher Girl couldn't go. But she sent me out there and I had to negotiate the time off with work. That was my busy season is right around Thanksgiving and right through Q4. And so they don't like us to travel. So I had to negotiate actually working remotely and dealing with all that. And even though we could work remotely, and we do work remotely, for me to travel, it seemed like it was a big deal for them. And it was not super fun to do that, but it was super fun to go out because there was a wedding that I was going to, and then the next weekend was Thanksgiving, so I didn't want to travel out for one and not the other. So we got that done, but it was the first time in 20 years I had a Thanksgiving in New Jersey. And so we never did the travel thing. So I kind of said, after all that time, it would be nice if, as we got older, since we don't travel to South Dakota anymore, we haven't in the longest time. Her parents have come out to visit us maybe twice in the last several years. And maybe 3 times. And we haven't traveled out to South Dakota except for me, once in the last 8 years. We took our dog with us. That's 8 years old, and we got her when she was almost born. So we've traveled out there once in the last 8 years. I think Gopher Girl traveled out there once on her own for like a girls' weekend or something. But yeah, so now I'm trying to convince Gopher Girl to kind of pay, give back a little and try to move to New Jersey, although it's pretty expensive. It's a little more expensive to live out there. The taxes are higher. That's the biggest deal for us from a house perspective. But we've been living in a townhome forever, and we really wanted to have a yard, this fenced-in yard for our dogs that they can run around freely from association regulations and things like that. That one came out pretty good. So I'll keep working on it. My mom will appreciate that, and she's helping looking for houses for us since she's out there. But a lot of things happen for us because we're kind of a paycheck to paycheck couple, and that's a little bit low. Like for instance, we probably couldn't buy until we had a guarantee until we sell our house. That could mean renting for a while. I don't want to get into that cycle because I don't want to end up having to just being stuck in and renting for the rest of our time. So I'm not a fan of that. I've seen it happen to several people who had this grand plan that they were going to wait till house buying got better and they got out of the house that they were in or the situation that they were in, and then I had one that was in a house, then decided they wanted to buy. They were or was in a house, but they were renting the house, and they wanted to buy, and they had to get out of that house for some reason, and maybe the owners wanted to live in it again, or I don't know, but they were living forever in an apartment and not getting into a house. So I like the idea of doing it, but unfortunately, it could be difficult on the execution side. So not my favorite way to do it, but if we're going to make a move to New Jersey, it may be the way we need to do it, because it would be really hard to sit there and find a house and get a bid on the house and say, it's contingent on us selling our own house and making that happen here. We've lived in this place for, I don't know, has it been, it's probably been about 14 years, 15 years. And so that's got a lot of cleanup to do and a lot of prep. Yeah, it's just, okay. So, I'm going to use some painter's tape instead of using I could use the Tamiya stuff for the edges, but I'm going to have less issues with it, so I'm just going to use the painter's tape on that. Can't believe it's taken this long to actually tape stuff up, but talking and taping is kind of different. Oh, that's right. We need to, or non-existent. Let's try that again. All right. And then we're going to come back by there. Oop. Butterfingers. Okay, so we still want to tape up there. And then I just want to tape the edges here just to be safe on these edges. And so with me slowing down with this, I'm learning a great deal by slowing down to do this. Oh, that's going to be, is that going to be too far over top? Yeah, I don't think so. I think we're good there. So there's that, and just tape up the other side just to be safe, so I don't have to redo a whole bunch. I mean, this is maybe overkill just for these two stripes. Now that I look at that stripe here, yeah, it just looks a little bit off, and I'm worried about if this is angled in any way that even if it's in the right spot, it can give the impression that the whole stripe is angled, and I don't know, that wouldn't look great to me. So, all right, and I still haven't decided if I'm going to do these top parts. I was going to do a stripe there, but they're set up kind of different, and it's very, very thin, and I don't know if I have a thin enough brush for that. But so I'm actually just going to, all this tape is just for these two lines here. And let me show you this. As I'm shaking this up, it doesn't even feel like it's moving in there. But let me... So here's the paint. Thought I had another thin brush. I'm gonna really try to be conservative with this, with brushing this. Let's see. So, hey Dwight, are you where? I thought you were in. I don't know why I thought this, but I thought you were in Pennsylvania. Is that where you are? So there's the paint on a brush. And I'm going to take my glasses off for this. Hopefully nothing comes up into my eyes. And actually, you probably should do this on the... So let me see if I can... See, now that's going to work just fine because I'm on camera. But what was happening, even at full strength, is it wasn't coming out like that. Now, if I dry, so what I would do is generally I'll air dry this. I'll use a hair dryer to speed up the drying process. I'm still going to do multiple passes on this, on each one here. And I forgot we need to do some taping on there, so I'm going to skip this one for now. And again, we're going to get in there. Oh, sounds like Gopher Girl's taking the dogs out. I don't know if you can hear Bailey howling. That means she took Kaya out first. So, Central Illinois. Okay. So, how far are you from Chicagoland area? How far are you from like O'Hare Airport? Because I have no concept of how really big or small Illinois is. Now, I think just because of the lighting, it's probably still better with this light on here. This needs to dry because I have other stuff. Oh, let's see. Just want to see if I can do this. So I'm gonna mute my mic for just a second. Okay, so you're pretty far away. Okay, gotcha. Every year in April, we travel to, it used to be Schoenberg, but now it's Rosemont area. Um, we stay at the Marriott O'Hare Airport, which is like 3 miles from the airport. Um, there's an international dollhouse show that my mom does, which is all fine dollhouse items. We're talking like tables that are little dollhouse tables that are like $1,400. Um, so we've been going there for 20 years, and we'd spend the weekend there, and so we're very familiar with the area, and that I went through all the hobby shops. Um, oh, neat. I I don't know if you're on last live stream, but I went through the usuals. I went to Displays Hobbies. I went to Lombard Hobbies. But one of my favorite places has been Ron's Mundelein Hobbies in Mundelein, which is about 40 minutes north of um, where where we stay. Just give me a sec here. We're just gonna. Uh, so yeah, so in Rosemont they have that whole um, convention center area. They have an arena there, which is really neat. They have a whole convention center area there, and so I can imagine they have major shows there. So I think we went to the convention center once, maybe for something. Been to the Allstate Arena over there, which is so weird. It's open. It's out in the open. It's unassuming, and it's right next to a Target. Very, very weird. I'll be right back with you with the sound. I'm just gonna. All right, so I just ran the um, hair dryer over it. It's rather shiny still, but I'm still gonna do. Um, it's kind of hard to tell. I can't imagine being able to tell what this really looks like on camera here. Um, I mean, this is much more stark when it's dried and it's got multiple layers. So I'm going to continue with the layers on here to see how it's going. Is anybody besides Gopher Girl watching the NFL draft tonight or this weekend? It's not something I watch because I just get the report from her. Um, she's an expert on it. She's been a Vikings fan forever. I grew up Giants fan. So hoping the Giants get some good draft picks this year. They had 2 first-round picks. Gopher Girl said they did pretty good with their picks, which I'm hoping for because they've been terrible for quite a few years now. I'm a product and a fan of the 80s Giants. Well, the 80s Giants once they became good because they were terrible at the beginning of the 80s. And then Bill Parcells made them into a defensive juggernaut. And so hoping they do well. I hope for the Vikings have a good draft because I'm going to hear all about it if they don't. And we'll hear about it in the Twin Cities all day long, every day. So Yeah, their prices are good. Um, they're competitive with other places. Their shipping costs, if I recall correctly, isn't too bad. When you go in there, there's plenty of room to move around, but they're all working on orders in different parts of the store. But they accept people coming in, which is very unlike Yankee Dabbler in New Jersey, who really don't want you in there. Um, so the but for Lombard Hobbies, they are very nice in there. I was trying to see some stuff. They're all working, and it's not like you're going to go anywhere and steal anything from them because there's one door in a corner, in and out, and they're all over the place and stuff, and they can see you and whatever. But I couldn't see some stuff that was behind a counter on a wall, and they saw me like squinting and leaning over the counter, and they were busy doing their orders, so they weren't going to come over and show me this stuff. They're just like, go behind, they're like, just go behind the counter and take a look for what you need. um, they actually ask you if you're they all ask you if you're doing okay and if you need anything, um, or need any help or anything. And a little secret for them, which is not a secret because I keep telling people this, but if you have an online account like I do, like you do, Dwight, and you live out of state and you travel there and you're there at the store and buying something, they waive the city tax. So when I bought the motel, it was $55.50, and that's what I paid, no tax on it. So that was um, really cool. Um, I I like Yankee Dabbler because they always have stock of stuff. They have great prices, better than Lombard Hobbies usually for the stuff that I buy. But going in the store, first of all, they have so much stuff in there. They don't set it up so you can really walk around. They set it up so their employees can move through there just enough to get what they need. But not, I've been in there a few times now, and not once have they ever engaged me and said hello, let alone, can I help you with something? Not that I needed help, but that was my experience the multiple times I've been in there. If you order something, it's easy to go pick it up there if you live in the area. My mother lives about a half hour away, so that's when I've been able to go, when I've been out there. I don't have any other problems with their prices, their selection, their online ordering is fine. Always got my stuff timely. They work hard there. I see them working. It's just I find it interesting that they have a face to face. I get maybe they have a lot of people in the area that come pick up stuff at the store to avoid the shipping cost. Um, but from a walk-in perspective with prospective customers, I just don't love the experience there. But that's my experience and not yours, Bill. So, um, so here you go. So that was um, so. Uh, so I need to do another little tape job there. It's going to be a tiny tape job, and I could just wing it, and then it may be easier just to repaint this piece if I get something on it. But it just will look jagged. That's the piece I don't like. So I think we'll try using but it's got to be such a small piece. I don't know if I'll be able to do it real easy here. So, all right. So we've been going for about an hour and a half. I'm sure you don't want to sit here and just watch me paint and jibber jabber on about. I don't want to get into rant mode or anything. So I think what I'll do is I'll cut it off there and say have a good weekend to everybody, and do some good model railroading, try something new, just jump in and enjoy. And it was fun hanging out, and I hope to see you all next week.